Hello, my name is Castro, and you've tuned in to Leaders with a Mission. And today, I have a treat for you. If you know about personal growth and you want to work your brain to the highest level of potential, this video is just for you. Let me introduce you to my guest. Her name is Shonte Jovan Taylor, and she is a neuroscientist, success trainer, author, and the founder of OptiMind Institute, who is igniting minds and hearts around the world through coaching, training, and speaking. Her 007 mission is to guide ambitious people to harness their brain power to reach their full potential in life, profession, and business. And with you, Shonte. Yay! Oh my goodness, let me just say thank you so freaking much for flying all the way from Texas to Miami to join us here at Leaders with a Mission.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you for what you do, highlighting people's geniuses, leaders' geniuses, transforming the world. So I appreciate you.
I know people don't know this backstory, but I remember a time, because she's the neuroscientist brain kind of extraordinaire, that I told her that we were going to be Pinky and the Brain. And I was going to ask you, hey brain, what are we going to do tomorrow night?
The same thing we do every night. Try to take over the world. I guess in this case, change the world.
Transform it from the inside out.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that.
Okay.
Tell me about OptiMind Institute. Tell me about the mission. Tell me about who would benefit from this transformational resource and empowerment place.
Absolutely. So I am kind of biased because I think the brain is the most beautiful piece of technology we have on this planet. And my mission is to empower 1 billion minds, hearts, coaches, leaders, advanced thinkers to understand the brain at another level in order to reach their highest level of human potential, personally, professionally, and in business. But I didn't always start out like that, Diana. My background is in more the clinical world, right? Dementia, brain injuries, and all of that. But I didn't feel like it was motivating me. I didn't think I was pulling from the best of me, discussing what was wrong with the brain. I wanted to discuss what goes right with the brain if we understand it at the level that we know about in neuroscience now. So fast forward, I decided to go this route and found the OptiMind Institute, where I had to kind of relearn, kind of go back to the drawing board about how can I teach regular folk, right? Coaches, leaders, people in the world who didn't have pathologies of the brain. How can I be able to translate the knowledge of the brain, the power of the brain, in such a way that people can resonate with it and apply it in their own lives, in their work lives, in their professional lives, and in their business, so that they can be more impactful.
Tell me a little bit more of who is a good candidate for the OptiMind. Like, who would get the most value from what you are bringing forward?
The 7 billion people on the planet, first and foremost. Well, the OptiMind Institute started with focusing on coaches, leaders, and influencers and trainers so that they can, be able to enhance their influence and impact, right? But we've expanded the OptiMind Institute. So now we do research on when leaders and coaches go into these organizations and they are coaching or leading with the brain and mind intentionally. How is that impacting the productivity of their employees and their leadership and motivation and culture? So we're starting to get that narrative, that research going as well. We also have expanded to general coaching of the population. So the graduates that come from the OptiMind Institute who are certified in understanding and coaching through the lens of the brain and mind, they are now like foot soldiers, coaching the world, so anyone, because there's a lot going on in the world right now. Right? Collectively, there's all these shifts, all these things that are happening, and people are under duress. They're under stress. They're in grief. We're losing the connection to ourselves, right? There's just a lot of turmoil. Now, there's a lot of good as well, but people are feeling it. So I felt the need to expand OptiMind so that the coaches can just go out in the world and go coach regular people who may be, struggling with their emotions.
What I'm hearing you say is you're building an army of neuroscientists that are going to take over the world in whatever field they're in. And what I know to be true about Neuroscience Institute is that you have people literally from all over the world.
Absolutely.
That are serving from different levels of influence. Like you have people who use mind mapping, and you have people who are teachers, and you have people who are niche in different areas. So what I'm hearing you say is that as you see this impact in neuroscience, you saw a bigger vision of being able to, through that, be able to impact even more people.
You are spot on.
I love that.
Just
mission.
like how I had the epiphany that using neuroscience in the pathology world and the clinical world, like you said, didn't fuel me. And I switched over and, forged a new path for this neuroscience route. I then evolved after I started to see what the graduates who were certified in neuroscience were doing with this knowledge. It's almost like neuroscience amplifies their superpowers.
Because they can understand how to leverage their strengths in their brains, because we're all built differently.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely.
How is now adding this layer of research enhancing what you're currently doing? Like, what does your laboratory look like in the back end?
I'm glad you asked that, right, Pinky? Well, I come from the lab, right? So my brain is already trained to look at patterns and data and experiment. So those happen to be my strengths as well. And I'm all for bringing the strengths to whatever journey, you're on. So it'll allow us to think bigger. It'll allow us to see what is working, what's not working, and enhance or, pivot where we need to. And also it can tell the story of organizations and companies who are implementing neuroscience into their leadership protocols and to their trainings so that their culture can enhance and their employees can be more productive and have high morale, right? And so we're able to see those trends and then present those trends to companies as well as, publish them as well and get the feedback on that.
Oh my goodness.
We're going big, Diana.
The vision is huge. Let me ask you, what curriculum, what can people expect? If people are intrigued by, I wonder what she teaches. Can you give me like a little bit of like glimpse behind the curtain of what is included? Like what kind of curriculum do you have set up for them?
Yeah, so it took me a few years to refine how I explain the brain to everyday people, right? And speak the language of a leader and a coach so that they understand it. Because there's no point of me speaking over people's head and using all the sciencey terms like I had to learn. It's about, do you understand? Can you get this so that you can go and use this knowledge and look from life? Look, at your employees from a neuro perspective, right? From what the brain is doing, because we are always impacting each other. And what we're really doing is impacting each other's brains. So I've learned to use the language of whoever I'm speaking with to be able to explain what is going on in the brain. So that's how my programs are as well.
So for example, what what is the curriculum? Meaning, they're going to learn how to make more money? Because you're talking what courses, what are the names of the courses that people can expect? Like, oh, I want that one and I want that one. And I would like to know in layman
what
terms.
do I have to offer? Is that the question?
There you go.
So it depends on what your goals are.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. So people who want to become certified in neuroscience-based coaching, brain-based coaching, and leadership, they would go on a journey with me. It's an 8-week training program where I take them on the journey of the brain. So it's basically they have to understand the anatomy of the brain first, the foundation. They have to understand how to use neuroscience in their personal world, in their professional world, in the business world, in the creative world, in the relationship realm, and then the very last week is the spiritual realm. So we have neuroscience to back up this human experience, these human activities that we kind of take for granted every day. Because of neuroimaging, we can see in real time what the brain is doing when we exercise, when we're thinking about a memory, when we're feeling an emotion, when we're praying. So it's a lot of research that my team and I have distilled down so that it can be relevant to coaches and leaders and what they need. And the course is always evolving because we're still learning what leaders and coaches need to transform their people. So it's always going to be an expansion, and we're always willing to learn what the needs are of the existing coaches, leaders, and influencers. And then we find the research behind it, and then we translate it in a way that they can immediately make an impact with the knowledge.
Are you saying that they have access to the resources forever? Is that part of the program?
They have access to the core program forever. There are other ways to work with us, of course. Like I said, if they become certified, then they can then go out and coach. We can pair them up with organizations who are looking for coaches. I also have a program called Monetize Your Mind. And that is more so taking someone's genius and helping them to download it into a program or training that is consumable for other people to take them on a journey. And then I amplify whatever they create with neuroscience. So it takes their program, it takes their genius to a whole nother level. Yes.
Damn, girl. That sounds juicy.
It's fun. I mean, we talk about being in our zone. Oh my gosh. When I'm helping people to extract their genius and their strengths and put it down in a way that's structured and they can go put it out in the world, it's a very powerful feeling for everyone.
I have a sense that that's one of the things that you enjoy the most. Like I feel you light up. Tell me about one of the, without mentioning any names if you can't, but what has been some of the transformation that you've seen someone go from before the program to once they took the program? Like, what has been something that you've been like, this is full circle. This is what I do. This is why I'm into neuroscience.
Wow, that's a great question, because everyone who comes into my programs, they think they're coming for neuroscience. They think they're coming to become a better coach, a more advanced leader, but they end up going through their own transformation because they start to understand their own brain and how to amplify it and redirect themselves and expand their perspectives and heighten all their senses and their intuition. And then when they're showing up like that, opportunities just come, for them. So a lot of people, they start in one space with one idea, and then they end up getting so many opportunities to change the world. And you mentioned earlier that I have students all over the world. Yes, on all continents except for Antarctica. Okay, we're still working on that.
We're working on it.
Exactly.
We're working on
it. It's gonna happen. So we have a powerful student in Ireland. So we have 3 certified neuro coaches in Ireland. They're also trainers as well. And so they're kind of dominating the industry because there's not a lot of coaches and leaders who are trained thinking about the brain. Yeah. And when people come as coaches, sometimes they leave as speakers, they leave as trainers, because you can do so much more when you understand. You can teach people from the lens of the brain how to be more productive, how to be more focused, how to be more intuitive, how to be more creative, how to be more empathetic, and have more compassion. So neuroscience can literally take you anywhere.
What I'm hearing you say, I'm translating, like, as you speak, my brain is like kind of dissecting pieces of what you're saying. And for me, what I hear is like what you do unlocks parts of their brain to expand their understanding of life, to be able to reach new potentials that they maybe didn't even consider because they didn't even know they had access to certain spaces in their brain. So this feels super expansive. This feels so energy rich. Yes. I love your mission. I love what you're about. I love the fact that you have a servant heart for people who are here to make a difference. And I know that that's part of how the synergy happened between you and me when we were talking, because we're like, you're my sister. You're my soul sister. I have to. For me, it was like, how do I share more of you on the world? And I know that based on what we've worked in the past, this is kind of what we have done for each other. So thank you for the opportunity to like support you and to share you with the world, because I want nothing more than for more people to expand their awareness of what could be possible, to lead by amplifying their gifts to the world. So let me ask you this question, which is part of what we do here. And it's like, what is your personal definition of leadership as it relates to what you do, as it relates to the people that you serve, as it relates to how you want to lead impact in the world?
Absolutely. So I look at leadership as a spectrum, right? We have leaders who don't do good in the world and leaders who change the world in, more positive.
It's still leadership.
Right. It is still leadership. And so my definition is an evolved leader who is leading with the brain in mind, who's using the most powerful knowledge and understanding of what it is to be human, to influence and impact others. And that compass is through understanding the brain, because that's what you're impacting as a leader, whether it's verbal or nonverbal, right? You're setting the stage, you're setting the tone, your words matter. Amen. Life and death is in the power of the tongue of a leader, okay? But also motivation and inspiration, right? So we have a lot of responsibility as leaders. So it's also our responsibility to evolve and keep learning and growing using the most advanced knowledge on the planet. And of course, I'm going to say it's the brain.
Hello.
Yes.
And the other question that I always I'm so intrigued, because this is how I steal ideas and what am I supposed to be reading next? Or where are people who I admire? Where are they feeding their empowerment? How are they, nourishing themselves? So the question is, what books, what mentors, what practices fuel you back? We give and we give and we give. How do you get back to amplifying you?
Yes, absolutely. So my mission is my anchor, and it's also my compass. When I get too far off center, I come back to my mission. If I feel like I'm always focusing on the doing, and then I start feeling tense and stressed or anything like that, I go back to my mission, because my mission tells me what to do next. It guides me to make a decision on, is this thing serving you in this moment, right? If you don't continue that, are you still fulfilling your mission? And then you can never go wrong if you are aligned with your mission, whether you stop something or start something. If you don't take the opportunity or take the opportunity. If it's in alignment with your mission, you're always right. And so that is what anchors me, like, spiritually and emotionally. I read a lot of different genres, right? So I've always been like that. So I don't stick to just reading brain stuff, right? Because the brain is music. The brain is math. The brain is arts. The brain is leadership. The brain is everything. The brain is human. It is what it means to be human. So I like to read anything that deals with
being a human experience.
Exactly.
What has been the latest book that you have gotten that you have been like, ooh, this is juicy? And like, tell us. I want to know what you're reading.
Oh my gosh, you're putting me on the spot. Well, I will say that my current obsession, it does have to do with the brain though. My current obsession is learning about how the adult brain learns. And I'm going to tell you, Diana, it's on a whole nother level because, we beat up on ourselves when we get older, right? 40s, 50s, 60s. And we're trying to start another journey, start a business, right? And we expect our brains to operate like they did when they were 20, where we were able to do all the things and, we're social and learning all the things really easily. But our brains function differently when we're older. They're more refined.
They're evolved.
It's like, I'd like to say our brains, when we turn 40, in our 40s, are like fine wine, right? They have depth to them,
Say
right?
more about that.
And so we learn differently, and the brain uses up a lot of mental energy. So we're very particular about the things we learn at certain ages because it needs to be purposeful. The brain is really finicky about what it will take the mental energy to learn. And it actually learns better when we are connected to the information that we want to learn. It builds on our existing neural pathways, which make up our strengths, our wisdom, our experiences. And yes, all that stuff we learned when we were younger. But as we got older, with the experiences and wisdom, it shaped it to make us more refined. And that is how our brains, our adult brains, enjoy learning the most.
I love it. This is not part of what I usually ask, but I wonder because I find your mind fascinating and I find what you do extremely impactful is what legacy do you want to live in the world?
Oh, that's a deep question. I know it might sound Pollyannish, but I believe in humanity. I feel we need to finally shift from our primitive selves, keeping people suppressed and oppressed, or not being jealous of one another, or, all of those things to me are primitive us, right? And we need to evolve into our higher selves, our higher levels of thinking, right? And the brain actually shows our history, our timeline, right? Because we have the ancient parts of our brain, and then we have the more modern parts of our brain, right? The prefrontal cortex, right? And so that's where we're supposed to be leading from and growing from to get to the next level of ourselves, of our humanity. And I love technology. Technology is growing so fast, though. It's not growing at the level of our morale and our heart and our wisdom. And so we're getting disconnected from it. So we need to reconnect our hearts. We need to connect our wisdom, our morale with the growth of technology. And that's where I see us evolving to. We're leaving that primitive human nature behind. That threat brain is not dominating. We are just leading from our highest selves, and who knows what the future will hold for that.
Shonte, what I heard you say was profound. This is what I heard, because I'm like a translator in my brain, so hear me out, peeps, hear me out. What I heard you say was, my mission is accelerating the brain technology so that we can catch up to what technology is doing, so that the consciousness of our humanity is not lost or watered down as technology keeps taking over. And I find that to be fascinating because right now we're dealing with artificial intelligence. And like, I just watched a documentary on Netflix about artificial intelligence and how we are teaching artificial intelligence how to behave. So if we're teaching artificial intelligence from a primitive mind, artificial intelligence that is being given the right to influence how our leaders lead or who gets access to services and who doesn't. And we're doing it from a place of fearfulness or from a place of inequality. And that we're normalizing because we've been taught that machines know best, like a computer will not make a mistake. And if that's the bias, how are we doing it if we're not evolving as fast? So your mission is huge. I thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for not just keeping it to yourself, to finding a way to make a bigger impact through your disciples, to those that are on the trenches, the foot crown soldiers. So I'm so excited for the future when we get people that are working on the back end of humanity to evolve humanity. I commend you for that. And here comes the other question, which kind of like wraps everything up with a bow and like a little cherry on top, is where can people find you? Where can people get more of what you're doing?
Well, if you're seeking, you shall find me. So my name is pretty rare, right? Really unique. Shonté Jovan Taylor. I'm on any social media. TikTok will be the newest. LinkedIn, of course, Facebook, and Instagram. And, I love technology. I love social media. I can see the power of it, but I can also see the other side of it, right? And we have to take care of those minds who are impressionable using these things, right?
Yes.
Because it does make an impact. So we need leaders in position who are willing to do the work, and not put money before mind, before mental health, right? Before our kids.
Humanity. Yes.
Before humanity, right? We have to be responsible as leaders when we are building and creating
our future. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I could not agree more. This is why I do what I do, in the sense of video has the power to incept ideas of love and hate. And I want to elevate, or our mission here for Productions is to amplify the voices of those who are doing good in the world. So here comes my invitation to you. Are you in it to elevate the world? Do you want to amplify your voice of leadership and, cultivating elevation of our human experience? If that's you, please check us out at forproductions.com. I'll see you in the next one.